response to the Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Plan for Africa, the African Union Development Agency-NEPAD has established the African Medicines Regulatory Harmonization Initiative to address weak, outdated and fragmented regulatory systems on the continent. The AMRH initiative has so far been implemented in 5 regions on the continent, namely the East African Community, the Southern African Development Community, the Economic Community of West African States, the Economic Community of Central African States, and the Intergovernmental Authority for Development. The AUDA NEPAD, in collaboration with the African Union Commission, has organized the 3rd African Medicines Regulatory Harmonization Week. The event is hosted by the Ministry of Health, Ghana, with the support of the Food and Drugs Authority, Ghana. To discuss this further is Policy Specialist of Health Programme at the AUDA NEPAD, Chimwemwe Chamdimba. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us.
Good evening to you too, and thank you for having me tonight. All
right, let's just first start with the 3rd African Medicines Regulatory Harmonization Week. I believe it's a critical touch point in ongoing efforts to expand access to quality assured medicines across the African continent. What have been our major challenges?
So let me start, before I talk about the challenges, to talk about why exactly we are here and why this meeting in the AMRH week is a pivotal point for the African continent. I think we are standing at a very opportune time where the African Union adopted the treaty of the establishment of the African Medicines Agency. And we saw a number of countries ratifying the treaty of the African Medicines Agency. And this treaty came into force in November last year. And currently we have 23 member states of the African Union that are parties to the treaty, meaning that we are now ready to form the African Medicines Agency. But I think you talked about the challenges. I think the challenges, I will link them as to why the African Union made the decision to adopt the treaty of the African Medicines Agency and establish this Medicines Agency. Mainly, I think it was to tackle the issue of ensuring that the African people have access to quality, safe, and efficacious medical products on the African continent. I think if you go back to the COVID-19 pandemic situation, where we had very difficult times when it comes to access to quality products on the African continent, when we had really big challenges to accessing even vaccines when they came to fall for the African people. Mainly these challenges were because, you remember, the African continent, we are not manufacturing on our own. We depend on others to manufacture, and then we procure. And as yet, our population needs these products. And the African Union made a decision to ensure that we produce these products locally. We ensure that our people have access to locally produced products on the African continent. However, even though we are producing these products on the African continent, we have to ensure that they are of good quality and they meet international standards. Therefore, we then thought that one of the most important pillars is the pillar on strengthening regulatory systems so that people have access to quality products. So the African population, for it to be assured that the products that we are producing on the continent, but even those that are coming from elsewhere, are of good standards, we need to work out on our regulatory systems. So this meeting this week is aimed at looking at all these efforts that we have been doing since the last decade or so, ensuring that they feed into the establishment of the African Medicines Agency, and that the African Medicines Agency takes off, and as a continent, we are able to benefit from it to ensure that our population has access to safe, efficacious, and quality medical products.
The relationship between stronger regulatory systems in Africa, not just as a precondition for success in crucial continental initiatives, but what is it in a way to help funders deliver on the important goal of health system strengthening?
Well, I think you and me, if we go to a public facility or even a private health facility, and when we go there, we are sick and we can't find medical products that will be responsive to our diseases or our whatever conditions we may have, we get disappointed and we lose trust in our health system. For our health systems, for the population to have trust in the health system, they require to have all the commodities that are required to respond to the health challenges that we have as a continent. And if we are thinking about really developing the human capital that the continent needs for development, we need a healthy population. And that healthy population is anchored on strong health systems. And we can't talk about strong health systems unless those health systems are anchored under systems that are able to provide the population with quality products that they need to respond to the needs of the public health. So in this regard, regulatory systems become very pivotal, because without regulatory systems, there's no way we can talk about strong health systems, because we will not be able to deliver the quality and safe products that the people need to be able to have confidence in their health systems. Therefore, we have come to a point of realization that, yes, we can talk about everything else in the health sector. We can talk about financing. We cannot talk about infrastructure. We can talk about human capital for health. However, if there are no products that will respond to the challenges that we have in terms of diseases on the continent, we will not be able to achieve what we need when it comes to strengthening health systems. Therefore, regulatory systems become very pivotal in this regard. And this is what we have been focusing on as the African Union through the African Medicines Regulatory Harmonization Initiative implemented through the AUDA NEPAD to support regional economic communities and countries to strengthen their capacities to provide regulatory services to the population for safe and efficacious medical products. And that has culminated to the African Medicines Agency. That will become a cornerstone for ensuring that our continent is able to deliver quality products to the population that need them.
You spoke about the diseases that we face on the continent, and I wonder, how does the WHO benchmarking, global benchmarking tool work against what may be unique circumstances on the African continent?
Yes, so I think the WHO Global Benchmarking Tool came as an innovation from the WHO that is very critical when it comes to regulatory system strengthening. Let's go back to the benchmarking tool, what it does and what it leads us to. What the Global Benchmarking Tool does is that WHO, through this tool, works with member states to assess their capacities when it comes to ensuring that their regulatory systems are strong to provide regulatory services that the population needs. So through the benchmarking tool, after they assess the capacities of the member states, it starts with the countries themselves self-benchmarking, and then the WHO comes in to benchmark as well. In a process, they develop institutional development plans. And it is these institutional development plans that are critical for countries to know, where are we strong, where are we weak, where do we need to do better, and where we need to do more. And it is through this system that leads us to WHO assessing the maturity levels of our regulatory systems. And I think we are proud as the African continent that our African countries have been able to go through these processes, these systems of benchmarking, and we have 5 AU member states that have reached the maturity level 3, which is quite critical that, the world will have confidence on the regulatory systems on the African continent, that we can indeed ensure that the products that are both produced locally but also enter our market are of assured quality. Our target is to go beyond the 5 that we have: South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana. We have I talked about Nigeria already. We have Tanzania, as well as Ghana, where we are today. But I think our target is to go beyond these 5 countries, and more countries attain this level so that we assure our population that we can ensure the quality of medical products.